prize for presentation of colors. Standing for the invocation. replacing Reverend Luce, who's ill tonight. Pastor Guy Valley, the youth pastor from the Assembly of God, will now give us the invocation.
Would you bow your heads, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, that we stand here and pray in an open place, that you've given us this freedom. We thank you, Lord, that the Constitution has been framed by a majority of godly men, and we thank you most of all for your Son, that the Bible tells us that he has freed us, and when we've been set free by your Son, we've been freed indeed. We just pray a blessing upon this time. We pray that you bless the participants now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, Joe. How about getting home?
Here down here? Yeah. You gotta turn the speaker up.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Welcome to our celebration of Independence Day and the bicentennial of our great Constitution. On this day, we celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence, this and the sacrifice of many lives, led to our status as an independent nation. Friday, May 25th, 1787, the Constitutional Convention convened. There were weeks of numerous crises in the convention. At times it looked hopeless. The July 10th to 16th period of the convention was enveloped in such a shadow that George Washington wrote, "I almost despair of seeing a favorable issue to the proceedings of the convention, and do therefore repent having an agency in this business." 81-year-old Benjamin Franklin was very ill during the convention, and a sedan chair that he brought from Paris was used so 4 trustees from the local prison could carry him to and from Independence Hall each day. Finally, on September 17, 1787, 39 of the original 55 delegates solemnly met in the East Room of Independence Hall for the signing. As the delegates were signing, James Madison carefully watched each of them. When Franklin signed, Madison wrote, "The old man wept." Our format tonight is designed to allow as many citizens of Lincoln County as possible to speak on the theme of what the Constitution means to me. Each speaker is asked to speak for no more than 2 minutes. The program will follow as printed, with the exception of Tom Allen and Jane Ivey switching their places in your program. If you would all please join in to begin this program with "My Country 'Tis of Thee." Mr. Brown, I believe.
Good evening. When I was asked to speak on what the Constitution means to me, I was immediately at a loss as to where to begin. Like most good things we inherit as a birthright, we are inclined to ignore or forget the basic laws and concepts we all share in common. Even our ability to assemble this evening in a peaceful, neighborly manner is so much taken for granted we overlook the origins of this freedom. So in preparing my homework for this evening, I was forced to rediscover this great document that governs our lives in a democratic society. I found that the initial articles of the Constitution, while certainly crucial, are what we in politics would refer to as boilerplate, or housekeeping articles. Those items such as the details of the election of officials, the establishment of legislative and judicial branches of government, and certainly last but not least, the power of our government to incur indebtedness and to levy and collect taxes as a means of supporting this democratic system. But it was the amending capabilities of this Constitution that really caught my attention. It was natural that Americans should demand some form of protection and redress of individual freedoms. For that reason, many states' conventions, while favoring the Constitution, did so with the understanding that individual rights, such as trial by jury, freedom of speech and press, be protected. Thus, when I think of the Constitution of the United States, I think of the amendments, specifically Article number 1, titled Freedom of Religion, of Speech, and of the Press, the right of petition. Toleration in religious affairs has been one of the outstanding qualities of the American people, and so today there is an absolute freedom of worship, unless that doctrine is contrary to public morals. Free speech is a guarantee. Within reason, any citizen of the United States may express his opinion in a proper place, either through the media or in a public occurrence such as this. People can peacefully assemble to petition the government. In other words, a gathering of peaceful protest. However, if that meeting is called to incite riot, to endanger the national security, or for the purpose of overthrowing the government, the police may intervene. Thus, these articles of amendment that support and protect the individual freedoms of expression and peaceful protest are the documents that have been influenced me the most. Thank you.
I know that I'm not next on your program, but they heard I gave long speeches, so they moved me up to the front so they'd have time for the fireworks later on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Allen, and I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. But thanks to the Constitution of the United States and the fact that it allows free and unfettered travel between the states, I've moved up here about 12 years ago with my wife. We selected the great and glorious state of Montana, above all others, as the one place where we wanted to live and raise our children. The Constitution of the United States allowed us to do that. And the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States says that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the right of the people to assemble. And it's raining out here. And I've been all wet in the past. I'm getting wetter now. But the very fact that we are allowed to stand here and talk to you today, it doesn't make any difference whether or not you agree with what I have to say or what the rest of the people who are here today have to say, or whether you give one whit that I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. What is important is that we are able to stand here and talk to you, and that you have the right to freely assemble out there and listen to what we have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, in our Constitution, we are blessed with a document that is at once rigid in the substance of its text and defense of our rights and liberties, but is also flexible in its nature and in its organic ability to adapt to a changing society. And we are incredibly fortunate that our forefathers had the wisdom to in fact ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jana Ivey, and I am from Eureka, Montana. I am 12. My executive department, judicial department, my Senate, and House of Representatives are my parents. I do not have a Bill of Rights. I can't say what I want when I want to. My parents edit my speeches. I go to the church they choose. I am able to assemble with my friends only with their permission. I can't carry a gun. Who said slavery was abolished in 1863? There has never been a trial by a jury in our house. I do not have a right to elect my president and legislature. However, in 1992, when I become 18, my governing body will have changed from my parents to the United States government. Then my laws will be those of the Constitution. I will be able to study and vote for the candidate I choose. If I don't agree with my mayor's thoughts, I can let him know. I can also write a letter to the editor. I can change from one church to another or not even go. I will have the privilege of going to the public meetings or gatherings such as this. In conclusion, I truly appreciate the love and guidance of my parental government, but I'm looking forward to living in the democracy of our country. I also realize the responsibility of participation in our democracy, as I know was done with so much dedication by our forefathers. These, my friends, are my reflections on what the Constitution means to me. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Susan Lone, and I'm the county attorney. I'm happy to be able to share in this celebration of the 200th anniversary of the Constitution. As an elected official, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. The Constitution is the foundation of our government, from the federal level to the local level. It guides our actions and provides us protection for all the citizens of the United States. As county attorney with the power of the state to prosecute, I am ever mindful of the protection of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Among these are the rights of all citizens to speak their mind, of all citizens to be free from unlawful searches and seizures, and the right to have the security of knowing that the state cannot intrude into your homes without a lawful search warrant. For 200 years, these principles have guided us, and they're simply words, but words that are so strong and so powerful that throughout these years, young men and women have left their homes and their families and given up their lives to defend these words. In 1776, we declared our independence, and then we had to fight to gain that independence. 11 years later, the Constitution was written. Because it's able to be changed, it has withstood the test of time. For 200 years, the Constitution has protected our liberty. But it's only with the vigilance and the participation of all of us citizens that it will endure into the future. It is up to all of us as citizens to protect the Constitution and to ensure that our children's children will enjoy its benefits. Thank you.
Lady of the Harbor by the Youth Chorus Group, accompanied by Amy Baker and Paul Augustus.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Boy Scouts. I'm Larry Dalzell, Lincoln County Commissioner from the Troy District. The Constitution of the United States of America provides for all of us who live in this great nation the opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and happiness in a free country. The Constitution also upholds a very high standard to establish and ensure justice, peace, and well-being for our citizens. By providing a system of checks and balances in our governing powers, which are the House of Representatives and the Senate in our Congress, the President, and the judicial system of our high courts. There are various civic groups that strive to continue the high standards of our heritage as a nation by upholding desirable virtues to our children. We must maintain this transfer of high character from generation to generation if we have any hope of keeping our nation great. Two civic programs in which I participated as a boy are Little League and Boy Scouts. Through my experiences in these two programs, coupled with my parents' oversight, I was taught to trust in God, to love my country, to respect authority, to care about other people, to stay physically fit and mentally awake, as well as to always do my best. Let us continue to instill in our youth these standards for integrity in our great free nation. In closing, I would like you to reflect with me on the Scout Law. See how closely it parallels the fruit of the Spirit recorded in the Bible. This law of the heart should apply to each and every one of us as a code of ethics to achieve. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. May the government and the citizens of our free nation uphold the virtues outlined in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution to serve with integrity and justice. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Charlie Decker. I was born less than 100 yards from here 45 years ago today. Occupation, I'm a logger. The Constitution means two things to me: opportunity and sacrifice. A couple of years ago, my youngest son had the opportunity to visit China. While there, he visited several factories, textile mills, and other places of employment. In China, a person is appointed or born to a job and will continue that job for the rest of his entire life. This fact left a deep impression on my young son's mind. Unlike China, in the United States, the Constitution guarantees us opportunity. If you work hard enough and sweat enough blood and tears, there are no limits to what you can accomplish. Secondly, the Constitution means sacrifice to me. I think of the many thousands of men who gave their lives on some foreign soil to preserve the constitutional freedoms here at home. These men gave their lives in some faraway country, thinking that freedom is more important than life itself. So to me, the Constitution means that there has been many sacrifices to afford each of us the many opportunities we have today. Thank you.
What a glorious occasion we have come to celebrate the birthday of our Constitution and of our great nation. At the same time, the 200th anniversary of its Constitution, which represents freedom, the outstanding factor that makes America dear to me. When I beheld the Statue of Liberty in the Atlantic Harbor, I was reminded that this gift from France and the Liberty Bell in Constitution Hall in Philadelphia symbolizes well what America really stands for: liberty and justice for all. Although the writers of our Constitution had a limited understanding of true freedom and liberty, the concept has developed throughout the years. Our Constitution provides freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to own property, freedom to elect our leaders, and freedom to cause them to step down from office if they betray their trust. Freedom to have trial by jury, freedom to have an education, and freedom to have protection. Is there any wonder that oppressed from all over the world seek a better way of life in America? I also love America for its people. People who are friendly and hospitable, who care for one another, who share burdens, people who strive to improve their communities, their nation, and the nations of the world. Caring people form an ever-widening circle about themselves like a feather thrown into a stream. Wherever disaster strikes, Americans are there. In addition, I love America for its beauty, wealth, and natural resources. Let us all pull together to keep America growing and growing with beauty and majesty. And let us continue to be caring and sharing and to enjoy to the fullest what our great Constitution has granted, freedom and liberty for all Americans forever.
Hello, my name is Craig Collinson, and I'm here representing the Civil Air Patrol Cadet Program of Libby, Montana. I am here to give a speech on the U.S. Constitution, and the first day when I was told to write this, I rushed to the library and grabbed all the books on the U.S. Constitution. I wanted to find out all about what the Constitution stood for. I wanted to find out what other people felt was its purpose. Then I realized a very important fact. What the Constitution stands for can't be found in a book. It can't be told to you by somebody. You have to find it yourself, in here and in here. What I'm going to tell you today is what I feel the Constitution stands for. As I said before, you can't be told by someone what it stands for, so you should find your own answer and listen to what I have to say. The U.S. Constitution was made by this country for this country. It stands for freedom. And as this country grew, the U.S. Constitution grew with it. It grew with blacks for their citizenship rights, the right to vote, and their right to be free. It grew with women in their fight for suffrage. I feel that the U.S. Constitution is whatever this country makes it. It is a continually changing object which should be protected in any way. Without it, our country would be nothing. Our country is the Constitution, and without it, all this country stands for would be lost. And so, on this Independence Day in 1987, I feel everyone should find what their country means to them, and celebrate this 4th of July knowing you love your country and all it stands for. Thank you.
My name's Jim Button. From Libby. I wish to quote a few statements from our forefathers that fits this day, this era. 100% American is one who puts his duty to his country above his selfish desires, and who is more anxious that his children and his children's children may live in a country where justice and liberty prevail, than for any profit that he may make for himself during his life by cheating. Benjamin Franklin. I shall exert every faculty I possess in aiding to prevent the Constitution from being nullified, destroyed, or impaired, and even though I should see it fall, I will still, with a voice feeble perhaps, but earnest as ever, issue from human lips, and with fidelity and zeal which nothing shall extinguish, call on the people to come to its rescue. We, the people, are the rightful masters, both of Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. Abraham Lincoln. Let your gun be your constant companion of your walks, by Thomas Jefferson. To conclude, the Constitution says what it means and means what it says. Keep your powder dry. I thank you.
you.
We have the Uptown Girls with a patriotic medley. If you'd welcome them, please.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from the sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, will is bright in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defend her still today. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
Mr. Kennan.
Hi, my name is Louis Kennan. When I was asked to describe what the Constitution means to me, I was forced to reevaluate my feelings and ponder once again what that meaning it actually did hold for me. In reading the Constitution, the first three words encountered, and these are in the preamble, "We the people." And these words embody the essence of the Constitution. As a citizen of the United States, I gladly acknowledge the duties that I am obligated to uphold as stated. Of these duties, I deem freedom, unity, and loyalty to be the most important. Loyalty is an important attribute because it is the foundation upon which our country was built. We the people have to be loyal to our country in good times and in bad. In our country, this word goes beyond family obligations. And in order for our country to be the way it is, it must be the way of life. Freedom is a word that is open to much interpretation, as it should be. In our country, some of the freedoms we enjoy are speaking our mind on any issue, worshiping as we wish, and having a say in the government. These freedoms allow us, we the people, to interpret the Constitution in a manner that best suits all our needs. Unity, combined with freedom and loyalty, is what makes our country so special. Unity by itself is nothing more than a word used to describe the cohesive quality of a group of people. But when it is mixed with the other vital ingredients, the reaction is something to be awed and admired. It provides us with a bond that few other countries share and furnishes us, we the people, with a tangible entity to aim our hopes and dreams toward. In the same manner, as a scout leader, I realize that it is my duty to convey to the boys that I'm in contact with what qualities are expected of them as citizens of the United States. For many young people, Scouting perpetuates and elaborates on freedom, loyalty, and unity and what they mean. For these young adults to be good scouts, they must first be good citizens. We the people also have a commitment to fulfill, to live by the ideals and philosophies behind the Constitution. For it is a living document and will continue to be so for as long as we believe, stand behind, and uphold its principles. This is what the Constitution means to me.
My name is Lee Gearing. I'm from Libby. And when they came to the American Legion meeting and asked for someone to speak on what the Constitution means to me, or to you, there weren't too many guys that were willing to get up and try to say what the Constitution means to them, and I really didn't know. You stop and think, and I'm sure every one of you, if someone came to you and said, what does the Constitution mean to you, you'd have to really stop and think what it means to you. We take everything for granted. We've done everything in this way for so long that we really don't even stop and think what the Constitution means to us. And when I thought about it, I thought, well, it allows me to belong to the American Legion, VFW, or any other organization that I wish to belong to. And of course, I was involved in athletics pretty much of all my life. I came here to Libby to play baseball for a couple of years, and I stayed 39 years. But in the process, if you stop and think, a great majority of you watch some kind of sports on TV quite often. And if our Constitution wasn't as it is today, you would not be allowed to do this nearly as freely and as much as you do now. I've been in quite a few different areas of the world in my lifetime, and I know what the people there are allowed to do as far as getting together in groups. And for you that have never been to some of these foreign countries, you don't realize what our Constitution means to us. So the next time someone mentions the Constitution, and you stop and think, what does the Constitution mean to me? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Boy Scouts, as unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I will do my best to speak on behalf of myself and our local veterans of foreign wars post-1548. I'm Otis Bledsoe, a retired officer of the U.S. Marine Corps. I served in the Marine Corps 23 years, 11 years overseas, including 1 year in combat in Korea, and approximately 3 years in Vietnam, from August 1964 to December of 1969, which is my brief topic for tonight. But first, what the U.S. Constitution means to me is that our founding fathers had foresight to state in formulating the U.S. Constitution and accompanying Bill of Rights in 1787 that all citizens of the United States have certain inalienable rights that are God-given. They are life, liberty, and equality in the eyes of the law. These rights are guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution and cannot be taken away unless we do something extremely wrong. Now I would like to use a statement of former President Abraham Lincoln, who stated in 1858 that a divided house will not stand. This statement very aptly applied to the United States and South Vietnam during our conflict of war with North Vietnam, 1967 to 1975. We, the U.S. military, with braces, boards, and studs, holding these houses together during that period for all the good, bad, evil, or misgivings that anyone may have had. Within the United States, we had many U.S. senators, congressmen, movie stars, students, plain individuals, giving their advice and opinions on what to do or what not to do about the war. In Vietnam, we had to contend not only with the enemy, but also the corrupt, dishonest, and greedy political leaders, separated from their own people by power, with too many territorial restraints to win a war, but all to make themselves rich. We have all heard some of our own political leaders state that the U.S. military lost the war in Vietnam. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let's put the blame where the blame belongs, with them. The U.S. military never lost a battle of any major consequence with the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese. All the men I know and served with honor, distinction, asked for no quarter, gave none, stood tall, and carried the American flag high and proud. The U.S. military forces were ordered withdrawn by our own government, but were not defeated on the field of battle by any stretch of the imagination. Am I unhappy about the outcome of the Vietnam War? Yes, because it cost 60,000 young American lives and 3 countries to the communists: South Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia since our departure. The wounds must heal, hurts must be forgiven, and we must go forward with our heads and minds and hearts held high. Now the attitude of our government and the public in general is changing, as witnessed by this fine celebration on Independence Day, and patriotism is returning. The U.S. veteran is finally being welcomed home, and the House firmed up. We are receiving the long-awaited recognition deserved for upholding the Constitution of the United States, which is a part of the oath sworn to be upheld by all, be you officer or enlisted in the Army, Navy, Air Force, or the Marine Corps. God bless you all, and may we have many more of these patriotic celebrations. Thank you, and have a good night.
Many have given of themselves over the years to protect our Constitution. Many have given the ultimate sacrifice. We recognize them now at this time. The experience of Paul H. Dunn, a member of the 77th Infantry, is appropriate to review at this time. Paul was well on his way to a career in baseball when his dreams were interrupted by greetings from Uncle Sam. During his training, he met a young recruit by the name of Harold Lester Brown, a Baptist from Missouri. Harold was his closest friend during their training and subsequent fighting in the South Pacific. On the troop ship, services were held the evening before landing on Guam. The chaplain informed all the soldiers that by the same time tomorrow, most of them would be standing before their Maker. He asked, "Are you prepared?" Ladies and gentlemen, consider that for a moment. How many have heard those words and yet have continued on to battle so that our Constitution would stand? Harold Lester Brown was one of them.
And as I tell it as he relates it. Before I do that, during the Battle of the Bulge in Germany, or in Europe, where the Germans had a major offensive, in several months there we had 75,000 casualties, 19,000 dead. That was some very fierce fighting. In Okinawa, in just a matter of about a week and a half, we lost 12,000 dead and about 30,000 wounded. So the fighting, in comparison, was terribly intense. Most men who went ashore didn't expect to come back. So the scene was Okinawa, and Paul and his friend Harold had come ashore, and they'd been fighting with 77 for all this time, and they'd attacked to such a degree that they no longer had the reserves to go forward anymore, so they had to dig in. Well, for the first time after 5 campaigns, Paul and his friend Harold had to be in separate foxholes. Their lines were spread so thin they could no longer hold a large area the way they had done before. So they dug in, and they had rules that anybody outside their foxhole after dark was the enemy. So if you were crawling around, anybody could shoot you and then identify your body in the morning. So it wasn't healthy to be out. Well, Paul had his foxhole next to Harold. And during the night, the Japanese shelled and sent heavy mortar bombardment in on them. At about 11 o'clock on the 11th of May, Paul saw a shell virtually wipe out the foxhole of his buddy Harold. He was sure that was the last. He called over. He said, in the words of Paul, he said, "Harold, are you there? Are you all right?" And there was no response. And he knew he was dead. But he kept calling, and he kept calling, and after a while, Harold responded. He says, "I've been hit." And Paul said, hold on, I'll be to you in the first light of morning." And Harold said he'd try. There's nothing he could do until morning. He couldn't move across, or he himself would be shot. So during the night, he called encouragement to Harold, told him to hold on, told him things would be all right, told him you'd get him to an aid station first thing in the morning, told him that they would be home safely soon. Well, temperature dropped, and it started to rain, and rain, and rain. The first light came. Paul crawled over very carefully to Harold's hole. Harold was practically submerged in water. He had blood all over him. His pool he was in was bloody. He had mud caked all over him. Paul got in, pulled him as high on the bank as he could. He cleaned him off. He said, "You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. I'm going to get you to an aid station." But Harold knew he was going to die. He said, "No, I've had it. I can't go on. I'm not going to make it." Paul said, "You're going to make it. I'll get you down to an aid station. Just hold on." Well, Harold couldn't. He knew it. So he said, "I have 2 favors to ask you. I need this done." And Paul said, "Yes, I'll do it. Name it, I'll do it." And Harold said, "Well, I want you to tell the people that this is a great country, and it's a privilege to serve." And Paul said, "I'll do that." He also said, "I want you to go to my mother, and I want you to tell her that I stay with my principles to the end." And Paul said, "Don't talk like that." And he said, "Tell him." And Paul said, "I will." Well, it wasn't long before Harold died. Paul didn't get him to an aid station in time, but he carried him down as soon as it was possible. Took him to an aid station, and the chaplain said, "Well, the graveyard's there." Paul took him there, and he buried him in a shallow grave. It was saluted the grave, and he left. Well, Paul left Okinawa. He survived. And as he was released, before even going to his own hometown, he went to Missouri, and he told Harold's mother and father and sister the contributions he'd made in the fight, and that he had died valiantly. Then he went to his own homes. So, Harold never came back from Okinawa, but the graveyard where he was moved to there has been enhanced and decorated, and the entryway bears the inscription in it of, "We gave our todays in order that you may have your tomorrows." And that's a sacrifice fighting men agree to make when they sign up. And it's a sacrifice we should all appreciate.
Many have given their todays to allow us to continue to live under the Constitution. In commemoration, we now pause. The elementary chorus will sing "Hooray for the USA."
Matt, you better come in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think take some cover and we'll see what's going to happen here.
Take some cover.